Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix. I've definitely struggled, probably for most of my life, as anyone else probably has, because I've struggled with the realization of I'm not safe. There is danger all around. And certainly, while a lot of life can be attributed to being safer than it's ever been, I think of the work of Steven Pinker, or even just the looking around at the infrastructure that we have. Things are probably a lot better than they used to be. People aren't tortured in the same ways as they used to be. People don't die in the same gruesome ways that they used to. But when I think about danger, I guess there's the obvious things, the obvious peril, like a violent death, as Thomas Hobbes would often communicate, and political philosophers in general from the time of this violent world that we live in, and needing government to be able to get us through it and keep us safe. And the complexity with that argument of like, are we actually safe and do we even have a choice? And can we even make a civilized society, or is human nature too rampant and too wild? And I certainly think those are interesting questions. Thought about them a lot. But the danger that I'm talking about, the kind of peril, the precarious situation I find myself in, deals with something that I think goes a little bit deeper than just the obvious dangers that we face, such as threats to life, threats to our life. And it deals a lot with notions of the danger of being someone who represents the closest ideas of truth that you could find. This is obviously a controversial idea because we often think that we have truth. We often think that truth is apparent, while other people take the opposite tact and see truth as being very obscure, very impossible to grasp. But the point for me is that I want to ask the uncomfortable questions. And I think about how people talk to me often. It's not everybody, of course. There are people that totally want to engage. But it's a discouragement of asking certain questions or of talking about certain ideas. And I just mean this broadly. There's this fear of philosophical thinking. I'm not even talking about things that are controversial, like the transgressive elements that could be found in literature today, but thinking about it in terms of the very danger of even just postulating an original thought. The very idea of expressing an idea that you like or that you think is interesting and that you want to share with other people. And I think about the way that people talk to me because there really is a danger there. I am walking around landmines whenever I try to present ideas. I don't feel this all the time, of course, but I feel it often because there's a discouragement. And that's because I think we're in very real danger. As they say, here there be dragons. It's uncharted territory. And I like going into that uncharted territory. And I don't want to be so stupid as to walk down a dark alley at night or be reckless in a country that I don't even live in, or try to engage in a political system that I don't understand, or even read books that probably disturb me too much, more than I can handle, or watch movies or whatever that are like that. And so I think the danger is very subtle, even though to me it feels very existential, and it makes me feel like there's a lot that's at stake. Because the danger for me is that I can't express an idea. And I'm just talking about broad ideas. I'm not even talking about actual controversial ideas, which are expressed all the time, but often with a lot of cynicism and derision at the very least of the spectrum, very least danger of the spectrum. But the reason why I mention all of this is because I realize that when you're in uncharted territory, maybe it doesn't mean the same thing to other people, but it means something to you. Being in that uncharted territory, trying to see what's really out there, being able to think outside of the box even though you're constantly discouraged from doing so, from being creative. And the reason why I think this is so important is because maybe there is something entrenched in the human condition that responds with fear, with new ideas, or with ideas that we don't like. Often we're supposed to conform to culture, to religion, to even limited communities. And I definitely understand the social impulse. I mean, I'm a social being and I consider myself to be highly, highly introverted. And yet I understand that I have an idea. I have something I want to express that goes against the grain, where I'm often discouraged from asking those questions. And I realize today that it's not even so much questions themselves that's the problem, it's the type of questions. Because I like trying to push myself into being into new places. And it's so easy to just conform. And I don't even want to say that conformity is always bad. Obviously, certain norms are very good for letting society function. But it's all bullshit in the end, because we don't even acknowledge what the actual truth is. We don't acknowledge what the ideas are that underpin it and that underlie it. And that's what makes it so difficult to live in this world, I've realized. That, to me, is the danger of the ideas. That is the danger that I find myself in, where I'm unsafe because I dare to go to unquestioned territory, because I'm trying to do something that other people haven't done. And there's a way in which you could be the romanticized hero, or the romantic hero too, for that matter, or the starving artist, the person that's on the frontier. And I actually don't believe that about myself, because I find myself to be pretty milquetoast. I find myself, honestly, to be pretty lacking in expressivity, if that's even a word or that's the concept. I find myself to be very dull. But what I get out of this is this idea that if I'm dull and my blank arbitrary ideas are that offensive to people because they feel fear, and I'm just guessing, of course, they might not feel fear at all. They might not feel anything like that. They probably don't even care. If anything, it's probably more apathy and indifference rather than fear. But whatever it is, it's like we're in this complicated chain and this system and this dynamic of human society. And I have to fit in society to a degree, right? Because everybody does. But I need to explore the questions, the big questions that haunt me. I want to know what the truth is. And I know that probably sounds intensely, some people might assume arrogant to assume that I would even have the truth, which I get. I understand that argument. Or maybe thinking that it's intensely grandiose or naive. And I get all of that. All of that's fair. But I just want to understand. I really do. Understanding things has been at the top of my list for so long. I want to figure it out. I want to try to figure out what life is like, what reality is, what the world is like. I want to try to be able to understand that. And it's really hard because we put so many rules and walls around us that prevent us from just asking basic questions of what's true. And it may be that that's just the way that the world is. There's something entrenched in the human condition that opposes expressing ideas. At least that's what I felt, where I've often felt that my questions are stifled or ignored or discarded or rejected, or worse, even actually drawing ire or anger. And I get it. We can't really question people's beliefs, not that we want to anyway, because what good is that? I don't want to question anyone's belief. I don't even care. I don't even know what my beliefs are. But it just makes me think about how I am in danger, because I see the dragons before me and the monsters, the sea creatures, all of these things before me in the deep imagination. And I want to slay my demons. I want to slay the dragon. I want to understand what's really there. And yes, while it may be a plea or a draw towards the hero's journey and the narrative arc that implies, maybe I do see myself as genuinely being abstracted from the world, even though I very much occupy the physical realm, because I live in the world. And so it may just be a situation where I might be abstract because I have to be, and to where I take on this myth. Emil Cioran talks about this idea that we often overestimate our capacity for actually being actually original. And I don't really care about that, because I'm still going to ask the questions. I'm going to try to figure it out because it's important to me and because I care. So there's going to be a lot of danger. There's a lot at stake. I put myself out there with what I'm trying to explore, with what I'm trying to do. So that's my goal, and that's what I want to achieve in my life to the best of my ability, even if that search leads to nothing or I go nowhere. I'm Phoenix. I hope you found this inspiring. Thank you for listening. I'll see you around. I encourage you to watch my other videos and check out my books. Thank you for watching.